Hello, my name is Emma, and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag for 2018. If you are new to BookTube, you may have missed out on the mid-year book freakout tag, which was created by Is That Chammy and Earl Grey Books. We're going to be talking about some of my favorite books that I've read this year. We're going to be talking about some of the books that I feel I have to read by the end of this year, and it is basically like a yearly tradition on BookTube. I did it for the first time last year, and I knew I wanted to do it again. So without further ado, here is the mid-year book freakout tag. Question number 1 is the best book I have read this year. Now, I have read, at this point, I believe 53 books this year. I have read a lot of books, and I have a lot of favorite books. I swear I have like 2 favorite books per month at this point. So I am going to go with one of the ones that is like right up at the top, currently holding like the number 1 or number 2 spot, and that is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. I read this as a part of the Biblio Book Club's quarterly book choice, and I could not be happier that I picked it up because I was so blown away with how much I loved it. I've read quite a few books from Marissa Meyer in the past, but Renegades is absolutely at my top favorites of hers. I feel the world building of this series is absolutely fantastic. I think the superpowers are really unique and complex, and the characters are just all so amazing. I'm not typically a huge science fiction reader, but there is something about Renegades that really enchanted me. I listened to it on audiobook and I flew through it. Once I started, I could not stop, and it has very quickly become one of my favorite YA series ever, and I cannot wait for the series to continue. Question number 2 is the best sequel that you have read this year, and I feel like when I did this last year as well, I hadn't read a lot of sequels. I don't know why, but one of my absolute favorites that I did read is Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman, which is the sequel to Scythe. I actually have full spoiler-filled reviews of both Scythe and Thunderhead because I love this series with all of my heart. It's absolutely another one of my top favorites of the year, so if you want to check those out, I will leave them linked below. Personally, I believe that Scythe is one of the greatest young adult dystopians ever written. It is one of the most deep, well-developed, complex, and thought-provoking novels that I think I've ever read. I am just truly blown away by how spectacular this novel is. I do prefer Scythe. I tend to have an affinity for the first book in a series compared to the sequel, but after reading Thunderhead and then going back through the entire story and just really rifling through the content, I realized how much I really loved it and what a fantastic follow-up this book is. It leaves off on such an amazing cliffhanger. It sets up for a fantastic third book and I believe final book in the series, and I'm just so happy I finally picked up Scythe. The themes of morality and mortality in this book are just so skewed, and it sets up such a fantastic discussion about where the future of our world is headed, and I am just completely overtaken with love for the Scythe series, and I'm gonna stop talking about it now because I have more Neal Shusterman to talk about later. Question number 3 is a new release that you haven't read yet but you're really excited to. Now, if I'm being honest, I really combed through my shelves to try and find a new 2018 release that I hadn't read yet but is like really high up on my TBR. And while there are so many new releases I have and I do want to read, I felt that none of them were strong enough for me to include in this video at the present time. So I do want to sort of switch around this question a little bit, and I'm changing it for me to be a new release that I have loved. And for that one, I am going with Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody. I do have a spoiler-free review of this book on my channel. If you want to check it out, it's in the description below. To be frank, I am Amanda Foody trash. I feel like I am her #1 hype woman in the BookTube community because I love Ace of Shades and her debut, Daughter of the Burning City, with all of my heart. I swear, Amanda Foody just has a gift for writing fantasy. I feel she's one of the most talented young adult authors to debut in the last few years, and I do not think her books get as much credit as they deserve because they're just so amazing. Her writing is so atmospheric. Like, it feels like the city of sin in Ace of Shades is very, very real. The magic systems she creates are so unique and interesting. There are so many layers, and it constantly develops throughout the story, and it is just really, really entrancing. Definitely the magic system is like one of my absolute favorite things in Ace of Shades. I feel like it is just so different from so many YA books out there, and it was really a breath of fresh air to read because there are just so many different components to it that make it really, really interesting. But I also love the characters in this book. Like, Ensalta has stolen my heart. She starts out very innocent and timid but becomes a total badass, and I just really loved watching her character transformation. And I also love how Levi is initially presented as this like big crime lord who has a lot of power in the city, but he truly is just like a vulnerable teenage boy, and I feel like he really breaks a lot of stereotypes about males and young adults, and just everything about Ace of Spades is so amazing, and if you haven't read it yet, you totally should. Question number 4 is your most anticipated sequel for the rest of the year. As there are so many upcoming new releases that I'm excited for, I have 3 for this question. The first is, of course, Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer, which is the sequel to Renegades. As Renegades was my favorite read of this year, I am, of course, super hyped for the sequel, which comes out in, I believe, November. Let me tell you, I am so happy I read Renegades this year, so I only had to wait a few months as opposed to a full year. The ending of Renegades just blew my mind. I was like screaming and pounding on the steering wheel as I finished it while I was driving. It was quite an experience, and I am just so excited for where the rest of the story goes from here on out. The next sequel is one I am so lucky to have in my possession, and that is Wild Card by Marie Lu, which is the sequel to Warcross. Warcross was one of my absolute favorite books of 2017. I was really shocked with how much I loved it. Again, what is it with me in sci-fi over the last 2 years? I didn't realize until this moment. Warcross is fantastic and amazing, and another one of those like high quality young adult books that are really complex and interesting. Much like Renegades, ends off with so many possibilities for where the rest of the story can go, and I have just been dying to find out where all of these loose ends tie up, because I believe this is the conclusion to the Warcross duology, if it's duology. I'm hyped. This one comes out in September, but I am definitely planning on reading it soon because I just cannot contain my love for Warcross. And my final most anticipated sequel coming out this year is, of course, y'all guessed it, Queen of Erin Darkness by Cassandra Clare, which is the 3rd book in the Dark Artifices series. Unless this is the first video you've ever watched from me, this was to be expected. Cassandra Clare is my favorite author of all time. The Shadowhunter Chronicles is my favorite series of all time. I am a broken record, but I am just like itching to get my hands on Queen of Erin Darkness. I know it is going to be an amazing conclusion to an amazing series, and I just cannot wait for the Shadowhunter world to change forever. Question number 5 is your biggest disappointment that you read this year. For that one, I feel I have to go with 12 Steps to Normal by Farrah Penn, because I had such high hopes for this book and none of them were fulfilled. I was really keen on picking this book up as it follows a girl dealing with her father exiting rehab for his alcoholism, and I have grown up in a household with an addict, so I have very similar experiences to this. So I was not only really excited to see a book that focused on the relationship between a daughter and a father when it's plagued by substance abuse, but also like hoping to connect with it in some way and also find out about how other people have experienced a similar thing to me. But it just wasn't any of that. I felt the writing was very amateur and underdeveloped. It is a debut, so I do understand it, but that doesn't mean I have to hold the book to a lower standard than other contemporaries that I do read. But my biggest disappointment was the fact that the book wasn't really about the main character and her father's relationship and his alcoholism. It was more about her reconnecting with friends after having to live with another relative for 12 months. And everything I was expecting about this book became a subplot, which was like a real big letdown. I so wanted to see a really strong, developed relationship with chaos and sweet moments from Kira and her father, but I got all of that from her and her friends, and I did not care about her friends whatsoever. So it wasn't what I wanted, and it's really sad because I think this book had so much potential, but just like none of it came through. On the other hand, question number 6 is your biggest surprise, a book that you weren't expecting to love, and that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I picked up this book thinking it was like an adult psychological thriller, because that's what I typically read of adults. I was like, oh, like she has 7 husbands, what happened to all of them? But then I found out it's actually an adult historical fiction, and I was like, this is so the opposite of what I like to read. There's no way I'm gonna like it. But I ended up loving it, and it became one of my absolute favorites, not only of the year, but all time. That's how much of an influence this book had on me, and I am still shocked to this day. This book is like an amalgamation of everything I don't like in books. I don't typically like just like regular adult fiction. I definitely don't like historical fiction. I don't like stories that are mostly told in flashbacks, and this is like all flashbacks, but somehow it just stole my heart, and it hasn't given it back. It's taken it forever. The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is amazing. It is entirely unique. I feel like there isn't a book in the world that exists similar to it. It is beautiful in terms of writing and storyline and characters, and just everything about it is just seeping with emotion and beauty, and it's perfect. I literally don't think I have a negative thing to say about this book. Just every word, every character of this story is fantastic, and I cannot recommend it enough. I think I messed up my numbers. This is either number 6 or 8. I think this is a record for me losing count in the middle of a tag, but whatever question we're on, it is for my favorite new author or new to me author, and I'm going with new to me author. And I, of course, have to choose Neal Shusterman, the author of Scythe and Challenger Deep, which I both read this year. I initially picked up Scythe because it was like really hyped on BookTube, and I was just kind of in the mood for a YA dystopian, and I just, again, did not expect it to blow me away as it did. I pretty much said everything I have to say about Scythe with Thunderhead, but it is just an all-around amazing, amazing series. Challenger Deep was very different from Scythe in terms of writing style. This book is a hard one to read. It is very whimsical and bizarre, but it really adds to the story. So if you can push through it, I highly recommend it because it was an amazing, life-changing story. But it, of course, does hold all of the beauty of Neal Shusterman's writing. It holds all of the complex layers that he puts into his characters and plots and storytelling, and he is just amazing. I met him at Book Expo this year, and it was such an amazing experience to tell him how much he's come to mean to me in a very short period of time. So I know in the future I will be a very dedicated Neal Shusterman reader. I have his upcoming release, Dry, that I'm super excited for. I plan on reading his Unwind series. I just feel like there are endless Neal Shusterman books for me to read now, and I really cannot wait to see what his writing holds. Question number whatever is your new fictional crush? If I'm being honest, again, I tried really hard to find an answer to this question, but I just really haven't read any swoon-worthy boys this year, I feel. Don't get me wrong, I have read some sweet boys, I have read some morally gray boys, and I've loved so many male characters this year, but just none of them are like Jay Swaylen for me. You know what I mean? Like, I got some really, really established book boyfriends, and it's kind of hard for any new ones to join the ranks. I will say I have a massive girl crush on Citra Terranova from Scythe and Nova Artino from Renegades. I know I just keep talking about Renegades and Scythe over and over and over again in this video. I just love both of them so much. They are so intelligent and smart and determined, and just to be in their presence would be a blessing. Question number 472 is your new favorite fictional character, and one character that has really become influential for me this year is Charlotte Holmes from the A Study in Charlotte series by Brittany Cavallaro. I know I've said in this video a lot that I've been shocked with how much I love the books that I've been reading this year, but with A Study in Charlotte, I knew I was going to love it. Like, mystery thriller, young adult, boarding school, alludes to the tales of Sherlock Holmes and John Watson. Like, it was like a recipe for a great 5-star book for me. That being said, it did really exceed my expectations. I feel like a lot of times, specifically with YA thrillers, they can be a little contrived and not well developed and not hold a lot of depth, but A Study in Charlotte just blows so many other books out of the water. As much as I love the plot and mystery of this series, it's really the characters that draws me to them, and Charlotte Holmes is an unforgettable character in my opinion. She is immensely intelligent, she is extremely brave and courageous, she is determined and stubborn, but she also has like the darker parts of her that are shown throughout the series that I really appreciate, and I've taken so kindly to Charlotte Holmes. I love her. I can't wait to read more of her because I do have the last 2 books in the series to read when the last one does come out this year, and I'm so happy I read this book. I can tell this is definitely one of my new YA favorite series, which I have like a million, but I love Charlotte Holmes, and she's totally a new favorite character of mine. Question number N is a book that made you cry, and I know I've talked about this book a lot, and all of you know what book I'm going to choose, but I'm sorry, when I think about a book that made me emotional, there is no other book I can think about lately, and that is The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. Heavy trigger warning for rape if you have not heard me talk about this book, but this book is just a roller coaster of emotions. Oh my goodness. There are so many books out there that are just emotionally jarring, that like are physically draining to read, and The Way I Used to Be is one of them, but the benefits you get from finishing the story, from reading from someone like Eden's perspective, is so valuable, and it is worth every heartache, every tear, every sore throat from just screaming and sobbing because you can't contain any of your emotions. I'm a little dramatic when it comes to The Way I Used to Be, but I will never apologize for it. This book has had such an influence on me. It is more than just fiction. I feel it just has really influenced me as a person and challenged me to think outside of my own perspective, and it is just like, wow, when a book packs a punch, it packs a punch. It's amazing. I can't recommend this one enough. On the other hand, question number potato is a book that made you happy, and for that one, I think I'm going to go with Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This is another YA thriller that definitely exceeds the boundaries of, I feel, what has been set up for this subgenre, and it is just so freaking amazing. Like I said with Evelyn Hugo, I'm not a huge fan of historical fiction and books set in the past, and Truly Devious is half set in the present day and half set in 1936, as there is two mysteries going on that are sort of connected, and you kind of need to read both perspectives to find that connection. But Truly Devious is written so well. Like, the 1936 scenes are definitely not overbearing. The story is definitely Stevie's story of trying to uncover this mystery of this kidnapping and death and how it plays into her life right now, and it is just, it's so good. I feel it strikes a really great balance between fun, entertaining, intense, and serious. It just has all elements that I love to read about in books, and it was just a really fantastic read. I cannot wait to read the sequel because it is a trilogy, which I'm super, super hyped about. So I can't wait to dive into book 2 when it eventually comes out next year. I'm sad that it's so far away. Question number elephant is your favorite review you've written this year or your favorite booktube video that you've posted this year. I have 2 videos that I'm really proud of that were so much fun to film, that were so out of my comfort zone, but ended up being like some of my favorite books I think I've ever made. My first favorite video of this year is my favorite places to read. Now, I am definitely the type of YouTuber where I am most comfortable sitting in front of my camera and talking. That is where the foundation of this channel was born, and it takes a lot for me to get up, try something new, and film in different locations, film with different shots and clips, do like artsy stuff. It's not really my thing, and I get very nervous filming videos like this, but I love how this video turned out. It was so much fun to go to all of these different places that I'm constantly reading at, and I just have the best bookish memories with, and share them with you guys. I'm really proud of the way it came out, and that I like pushed myself out of my comfort zone to film it, and it is definitely one of my favorite videos I think I've ever filmed in, oh my god, how many years have I been on YouTube now? Like 8 years on YouTube, probably more. So I'm realizing that the second video that I was talking about in this video, will not be posted before this one because I'm super behind on editing it. And because it's like such a special video, I don't want to really share any information about it. It's coming in like the next week or so. You will definitely be able to tell what video I'm talking about just by the title because it's so unlike the content that I do normally post on this channel. But nonetheless, I'm so proud of it. I can't wait for you guys to see it, and I really hope you enjoy it when it is posted. Question number... mattress, couch, I don't know. I'm so tired. It's 12:30 in the morning. I filmed 3 videos tonight. The next question is the most beautiful book you have bought or received this year. For that one, I'm going to go with a book that is beautiful inside and out, and that is Girl Made of Stars by Ashley Herring Blake. This is another book that is really heavy and does require a trigger warning for rape and sexual assault. But before we dive into all of the heaviness of this book, let's just appreciate this cover. It is so gorgeous and striking and intricate, and even if I wasn't already a fan of Ashley Herring Blake before picking up this book, it is definitely one that would draw my eye in a bookstore. But Girl Made of Stars is just another amazing book. Oh my goodness, this is another one I knew I was gonna love. I knew it was gonna get 5 stars, but I still was not prepared for how much it would touch me. This book poses so many amazing questions about family and friendship and loyalty and justice, and it is just, your mind will be spinning the entire time while reading this book just because it is really an experience to go through with Mara. Ashley Herring-Blake is another really talented new author. I've read 2 books from her now, and they are both amazing. I just bought one of her 3rd books, and I really cannot wait to read it. She just has such a way with words where she's able to really capture an authentic teen experience. I feel that there is so much in this book and How to Make a Wish that people can really relate to, or at least people can empathize with, and that takes a lot of talent to do. And I loved Girl Made of Stars so much. It is equally as amazing on the outside as it is on the inside. I totally think more people should read it. And finally, the final question of the tag is books that you need to finish before the end of the year. So last year for this question, I did 3 books, so I'm going to do 3 books again. I probably should have mentioned that you can check out last year's tag in the description below as well. Whatever. But with last year, I did include 1 book that I did not read before the end of last year, so I am making it my mission to finish it this year, and the first is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I have been told to read this book for like 3 years now. I know I'm going to love it. I've definitely delved more into adult fiction over the last year or so, and so I feel like I'm better prepared to read The Night Circus as opposed to like 17-year-old Emma who probably wouldn't even consider picking it up. I have never heard anything but amazing things about The Night Circus. I think I'm really considering listening to the audiobook, so if you have listened to the audiobook of The Night Circus, I would love to hear your input on it. I just feel like for some reason this would probably be another very atmospheric read, and I think it would come across really well in the audiobook format. But I am making it my mission to read this book before the end of the year. If you interact with me a lot on social media, like, feel free to bug me to read The Night Circus because I am making it my mission. I will read it before the end of 2018. So as it is one backlist book that has been on my TBR for a while that I want to read, I have 2 more upcoming releases that I'm really, really excited for because I feel like for some reason the majority of books I want to read for the rest of the year are coming out later at the end of this year. The first is What If It's Us by Adam Silvera and Becky Albertalli. I am huge fans of both of these authors. I have loved all of the books that I've read from them in the past, and they are like the perfect co-writing team for YA Contemporary, and I cannot wait to see what amazingness they've come up with. It just seems like such a cute, fluffy, but still awkward and maybe somewhat angsty gay romance that I know I'm gonna love. I can't imagine me not liking this book because I just feel like everything about it is set up in place for me to just fall in love. It's definitely going to be one of my next reads. If you're also interested in What If It's Us, it comes out this October, and I would definitely recommend putting it on your TBRs because just like check back in a couple months and I can guarantee you I will have given it 5 stars. And the final book that is coming out later this year that I am so excited for. I've been raving about this book for like months now, and I hope you guys are as excited about it as I am, and that is Heretics Anonymous by Katie Henry. Heretics Anonymous is just another contemporary that just sounds so different and unique. It's about this very eclectic group of kids at Catholic school that are all like the outsiders that wouldn't normally be considered to be like good Catholic students, and it's all about them rebelling against the school, and I'm just so hyped for it. It just sounds fascinating. There's so many different perspectives that I feel are really going to contribute to a great discussion in this story, but I also think it's going to be like fun and lighthearted with all of the shenanigans that the group of heretics get into throughout the story. And this one comes out in August. I cannot wait for it. I'm also sure I'm going to love it. If I don't, I'm going to be really pissed because I've been hyping it up for myself for months now, but I'm really, really excited for this one. Alrighty, well, that concludes the mid-year book freakout tag. I have read so many amazing books this year that I'm so happy I was able to gush about, and I have so many amazing books on the end of my TBR that I know are going to be just as great. In the description below, let me know, of course, if you have read any of these books or if you were excited to read them, and let me know what your favorite book of the year so far has been and what book you are really looking forward to reading before the end of 2018. So my camera died because I've been filming for so long and I'm way too lazy to put in a new battery in order to film this 30-second outro clip. That really concludes this video. Honestly, I have no idea who has already done this tag for 2018. I have no idea who's planning on doing it in the next couple of months. But if you are a booktuber, book blogger, bookstagrammer, and you would like to give the community an update on what your reading year has been thus far and how you plan it to go in the next couple of months, you are officially tagged by me. In the comments below, let me know your favorite book that you read this year and one book that you are super excited to read. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new video. Bye!